Welcome back to the channel. This week, the music, well, the guitar world got their knickers in a twist over some final detail release over the new Iconic 5150. If you're new here, please leave a like, click subscribe, hit the bell icon, and we'll go from there. So let's take a deep dive in this. Everyone's been responding to this. I know I'm getting on the action, but I've not seen anyone who's like an amp tech really go down and have a look at this thing. People are losing their minds because of a few things, and we'll go through them now. James Brown is involved in the design of this. He is the original designer of the 5150. Quick history, potted history of the 5150 series, first built by Peavey. During this period, the late great Edward Van Halen was using the Soldano SLO. Now, when you're a major touring act, you need to be able to get any gear that goes wrong anywhere in the world. Soldanos back then were very hard to come by. They were only built by the man himself, and when you're touring, you've only got a few heads, it's no good. So he went to Peavey, they had James Brown on board, and essentially there are some differences, but blanket statement, Mark 1 5150 is basically an SLO clone. End of story. It is. So, obviously, we've got the 5153s these days being made by Fender, which is important in a Mo. And they're obviously coming out with this. This is going to be their budget amp, kinda. I think this is converted from Italy, whatever that would be in euros. So I reckon retail for this when it comes to the UK, $699 thereabouts. Not the cheapest head in the world, but there you go. Let's have a closer look at this amp and see where the similarities are and where they end. 5150 Iconic input. We've got a switch for channels. We've got gain 1 and 2, so 2 channel 1 and 2. Next to each gain we have, I'd call them a voicing switch. So you've got on 1, which I presume will be the clean channel, and we've got an overdrive button. So that's like going from the clean to the crunch on the original 5150. And we've got gain 2 with a burn switch, which is something you didn't have. So we're going to get 2 high gain modes. Something new here, noise gate channel 2. Probably if you're going to use burn, you're probably going to need that. And when you're chugging, shared EQ, same as a Mark 1. Got 2 volumes. So volume for each channel, and we've got a boost volume, so I'm guessing we're going to have a switchable master volume as well, so we can have rhythm volume and a lead volume, which is cool, and that will give us 2 volumes on each of these channels, giving us a total of 4 sounds. In the blurb it says it's only got 2 button foot switch, so I'm guessing it's going to be channel and then boost, which it's a shame. It could have been nice to be able to switch these, although you can get volume differences when you're changing those. Then we've got reverb. Guarantee it will be digital. Everything is these days on those. Resonance and presence. We have a full 2/4 power switch, standby and power. Looking through here, we've got power transformer, output transformer, 4 power valves, and then only 2 preamp tubes. That's considerably less than the Mark 1. Around the back, we've got usual affair, speakers, impedance selection, foot switch, effects loop, pre-out, speaker emulated out. I will come back to that shortly, and power amp mute. So back to the front, back to this. So nowhere on this blurb does it say all valve signal path, because this, like I said, the controversy here, well, there's 2. We've got the 2 preamp tubes and this 80 watt business. Let's have a look. Actually, let's address the power stage first. 80 watts. All 5150s are rated at 120 watts. That's great. I tell you what, they're not 120 watts. That is the theoretical maximum of 4 6L6 power tubes. So it's just not. And the way that they are run in the SLO circuit and all the other EVHs post that, and most high gain amplifiers, they bias and run the power stages cool. they're never putting out their maximum wattage. They're always bias cool, because the power stage in a lot of these amps really isn't doing an awful lot. They're not tone shaping a great deal. You're not driving like you would on a Plexi or anything like that. It's not part of the tone. It's all preamp. 99% of it. So I'll tell you now, that 80 watt is actually probably a more truthful rating of any of those. That's probably what they're going to be putting out. They're usually biased about between 50 and 60%. That's idle dissipation. Excuse me. That's idle dissipation, and they're never going to hit their 120 watts. I mean, and even an 80 watt head, it may even put out more than that. Like a 50 watt Marshall at points will actually hit 100 watt of output and transients and things like that. So people losing their mind over that need to calm down. They clearly don't actually know what they're talking about. So 80 watts is more than enough. It's going to give you plenty of headroom. Let's get onto the preamp. So we've only got 2 preamp tubes. Now, the original 5150, I think, had 5, maybe 6. I remember the Mark II had a ridiculous amount. It was crazy. Anyhow, you ain't going to do a high gain amp with only 2 preamp tubes. So there's a couple of things going on here. Black Star, they use on their Club Series a solid state phase inverter, so that would eliminate a valve for you, which would then leave you a theoretical maximum of 4 gain stages, because each ECC 83 or 12AX7 is actually 2 gain stages in one. It's a dual triodes, and each triode is a gain stage. So with 2 tubes, you're going to have a maximum of 4. Now, if they are using a cathode follower to drive the tone stack, if we're still in the analog world here, you're going to lose a gain stage again. You could do that and then maybe have some FET boosts. Nothing wrong with a FET boost. A FET is a type of transistor, field effect transistor. You've got MOSFETs and FETs. Now, MOSFETs and FETs actually have a very similar behavior to a valve and feel. So I've got a Marshall Lead 100 MOSFET up there. I love that amp. That thing sounds killer. It's basically the split channel reverb JCM 800, but where there was a valve, they've replaced it with a MOSFET. And does it sound the same? No, but it sounds bloody close, and you switch it on and it works. That's my favourite backup amp for gigs. It sits in the back of the car when I do a gig, because you never know, and that thing will just work. It'll do clean, dirty, brilliant. Anyway, back to this amp. So that's a possibility, but this is part of the Fender Corporation. What did Fender release a few years ago? The Tone Master series. If you don't know what they are 100% digital recreations of the classic Fender Deluxe reverb and the twin reverb. But so all that digital processing only goes into reproducing and copying that one amplifier in its entirety, and then that uses a Class D power section to output that into the speaker. This is where I think this is going. Now, I am no stranger to modelling. I love modelling. I have no problem with it. I use a HX Stomp, live, recording, everything. I love it. It's brilliant. And one of the tricks I like to do, in line 6, you can have the model of just the preamp circuit. So what I'll do, I'll dial up the preamp, run it out into one of my 2 valve power amps or into the loop of another amp. That way, you're mimicking the preamp, and then you're getting a real valve power stage into a speaker. And that, for that amp in the room sound, rather than if you're going to go DI and all that, it's wonderful. It works really, really well. So I'm guessing here what they're doing, one of those valves is going to be the phase inverter to drive this valve power stage. Now this would be cool, and I wonder if it's worth it, but I'm kind of thinking, so what was the other one? You wouldn't need the other one. But I think to get that feel and the transient response right, because my thing, there is a trick to a modeler. If you want to find out if something is modeling, use a Telecaster. For some reason, they cannot deal with the transient attack of a telly. When you snap on, do a real like chicken picking on the back pickup of a telly through a modeler. They just can't deal with that initial transient spike. Now, if they were smart, I reckon if you had a gains the first stage, you go into your amp, and like any valve amp, the good ones, you instantly go into the first stage of a triode to get the signal up to something to drive everything else. But that has such a certain response, and when it does distort or clip, it does it in such a nice way that because it's analog, that fast transient, it can deal with it and it will round it off. And then I think this is modeling. I think that's what this is going to be. This is going to be a really accurate, with some tweaks as well, we've got some more options, model of a 5150 Mark 1. And there may be, this burn switch might be that extra gain stage they added in the Mark 2, possibly. And also could be like a boost, like they're putting the tube screamer in front for the metal guys, like maybe using some bits from the Invective, nicking a little bit from there. So yeah, you're going to go into an analog stage, hit a valve, then go into the digital realm, and and all that modeling doing is just modeling this one amp. Plus we've got some reverb, which would be cool if it's like EVH sort of plate sound, and then driving a valve power stage just to make it louder and feel right and drive a cab. That's where my money is. If you want to place a bet with me down below, it could be fun. See, do you agree with my take on this? I'm pretty hopeful that's the way they're doing it. I think that's the best way they're going to get it. And this speaker emulated out could actually have an IR on it, and I'm guessing it would be a 412. There's no options like on the Tone Masters where they'd give you a little switch to give you a couple of options, because the metal guys would obviously prefer an IR with vintage 30s. Again, it could just be a filtered out, but you've got this power amp mute. I don't know if it's just stopping the signal going to the power amp, but it means you'd still have to have something connected. So it's not like a home recording head where you could nothing connected and just use it to drive a recording signal. Yeah, I'm guessing analog input, digital modeling for all the preamp, out into a valve power stage with a valve phase inverter. The best of both worlds. Yeah, that's my take on it. I thought you might like to hear someone who actually gets inside amps rather than someone who just plays them. Don't poo-poo it till you heard it. I think this could be the future, well, for the time being, the future of amps until we crack it 100%. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm not so disdainful of the whole idea. Some people are thinking it's just jumping at Eddie's bandwagon. I think this has been in the works for a while. They want Fender is smart. PV still sell the Mark 1, and they're trying to get in on there but produce it and hit a price point for people. Is it a beginner amp? No, but I like the hybrid ethos of it, although there's no USB on there. I mean, that would have been a big giveaway. That would have told us something or other, but I think it could all be analog. Like I say, it could be a hybrid of MOSFETs and valves, which again would still work and be cool. But yeah, I'm waiting for the day Marshall come out with the Tone Master idea of getting a plexi, but it's 100% digital, and maybe have like the possibilities of those things going that way. But have something that looks like the original, but has some more modern convenience in it. Cool. That was my take. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, leave a like, leave a subscribe, check out my other videos, and I'll catch you later. Bye bye.